"Will you go to prom with me?" was the first thing the guy I'm so deeply in love with asked me Thursday morning. I'm not big on school dances, mainly because I want to burn every fucker in this godforsaken place, but I said yes. And oh, what a prom that was. The theme was a masquerade, so, being the sadistic, classy lady I am, I conducted the perfect plot to fulfill my murderous desires. Saturday night came along, and I felt more than prepared. Now I could go into detail on how I made myself look rather amazing to throw these dumb fucks off, but hell, who wants to hear about that? I walked casually inside my school gym, attempting to avoid the Mardi Gras beads and disgusting thrift store candy that littered all over the floor, and handed in my ticket to the secretary. I carried in a panda backpack with me so I could hide all of what I needed that night: a mask, a kitchen knife, and a happy attitude. I walked inside the gymnasium doors and found a group of my friends. I decided, what the hell, might as well attempt to have some fun, then I'll start my rampage. I danced around, or more, jumped up and down as everyone else grinded upon each other. Fucking teenagers disgust me! Then it took just one glance at my date to set me in that killing mood. He had his hands on some girl's waist, practically dry humping her. And of course, it had to be the one bitch that I hate the most. The one who will be the first to die tonight. I carefully made my way over to the electrical room, making sure not to be noticed, and I shut off the lights. I pulled the hidden knife out of my bra and quickly darted onto the dance floor full of screaming kids. I waited for my eyes to adjust, then found the girl tightly holding on to herself. I walked up to her, her back turned to me. I covered her mouth with a cloth and gently inserted my knife into her carotid artery. I felt the warm blood trickle down the hand covering her mouth. I gently laid her down in the pool of blood, slowly starting to form around her limp body. I stowed the knife away and made my way to the other side of the room, where I sat on a chair to watch the oncoming terror. The lights flickered back on. I looked around to see a few females scream at the sight, and I think I hear a few "oh my gods" from a few of the males. Hell, not like anyone liked the bitch to begin with. I had to refrain from giggling, but still, I was unsatisfied. One kill is not enough. I took out my pretty little mask from my backpack and walked to the bathroom to change my dress so nobody would recognize who I was anymore. Although a teenager just got killed, the dance continued on. A few of the students went home terrified, but that was about it. My night was just getting started. I crept my way back into the electrical room and shut off the lights again. I found the darkest corner and hid in it, waiting for a chaperone, teacher, student, anyone to walk in to turn them back on. I heard the door creak, and I quickly grabbed the cord hanging from the ceiling and wrapped it around the unfortunate soul's throat. I pulled the end of the wire to make the other end rise into the air. Something loud fell to the floor, and a ray of light shined onto the back wall. My guess was it was a flashlight. I picked that up and looked to see who my victim was. I managed to snag the secretary. I cut the cord open to expose the wires inside. Conveniently, there was a bottle half full of water, and for shits and giggles, I poured the water onto the exposed wires. I stood there laughing as the fat bitch struggled to break free while getting her insides fried. I stepped out of the door, and before I shut the door, I flickered the lights back on. I walked back out onto the dance floor. As the night continued on, I saw my date stoned off his ass, dancing like he thinks he's cool. I thought to myself, fuck this prick. He's the reason for all this insanity. I carefully thought out his death. I went up to him and playfully teased him a bit, rubbing up against his genitals, being a whore. I managed to seduce him and lured him outside, with him thinking we were going to have sex. Silly rabbit. I pushed him up against the cement wall and started making out with him. He stuck his hand up my shirt and groped my breast. I pretended to like it and slowly pulled out the knife. I held it behind my back and unbuttoned his pants as he was occupied with his sexual fantasies racing through his naive little mind. I thrusted the blade right into his belly. I looked him into the eyes, shoved it in more, and twisted it around. He fell to the concrete, trying to scream to the bathroom, please." We walked to the girls' bathroom, and I locked the door behind me. She looked at me with a frightened look. Why did you lock the door?" All I did was grin and laugh. I walked closer to her, and before she could scream, I gripped her tongue and stretched it out of her mouth. It was rather slippery and disgusting, to say the least. I don't think she even brushes her teeth. Anyways, I gripped her tongue and took out the knife, forcing it to cut through. I dragged her through all the blood, leaving a trail into a bathroom stall, and closed it so she could be left alone to bleed to death. I walked out. By the time everyone discovered the electrocuted secretary and locked the door so nobody could get in. This is what I get for living in a small hick-fuck town, a bunch of inbred, retarded assholes. I thought it was obvious their killer was inside. I found a huge stock of gasoline for the lawnmower outside the back door. I took what I could and hid it in a corner fairly close to the door. Back to the electrical room, I shut the lights off once more, causing a circuit outage, so now more lights tonight. I heard more female screams. I went to the gasoline pile, and one container after another, I poured it all around the lining of the inside of the building. I took another container and made a trail heading out the back door where I poured more gasoline around the lining of the outside of the building. I ran back inside to get the only person I can really call a friend out. I took her out the door where I made my gas trail and pulled out a box of matches. She looked at me with fear filling her eyes. I looked back at her and apologized. I flicked the lit match onto a splotch of gas on the ground and watched the whole building go up in flames. I heard the screams of everyone inside for about 20 minutes. I stood there, laughing. "How was prom?" my mother asked me when I walked through the front door. "It was great," I replied with an evil grin on my face as I walked up to my bedroom.